In 1967, I was drafted in Iranian army and spent about 4 months for the basic army training and educational training. The purpose of that training was to send all the cadets to the nearby villages in the country to teach the children for the next 18 months. After 4 months with a large group of cadets, we were sent to the city of Isfahan in the province of Isfahan to spend about 3 days into the educational trainings and seminars, and after that go to nearby villages. Some of the villages were close by, some of it were very far. My village was called Juchi, which was about 30 kilometers to city of Isfahan. This village was a beautiful village where it was located by the Zion Darud River, and it was underneath of a beautiful mountain and had about 150 families, a total of 500 population. The school was built for a high school, but of course the elementary schools had a precedent on it. I had about 38 students, which 28 of them were boys and the rest of them were girls, all mixed together, and from 1st to 5th grade. The school was also close by to the public cemetery, which was kind of at night, it was kind of scary. The village of Juchi was nearby to another village called Pava, which was inside of an old fort, and the four corners of the fort had some minarets where all the pigeons were housing there. The farmers would use the pigeons droppings to fertilize their land. 2 kilometers far from Juchi was also a larger village of Pir Bakran, which had a middle school and a medical clinic. Pir Bakran also was a burial of a very famous scientist which belonged to the 13th century, Muhammad Hussein Pir Bakran, and also a burial of Estra Khatun, a very important Jewish noble person. Agriculture and sheep herding was the main income of the village. Juchi was located by the famous Zion Darud, a very beautiful river which traveled through the city of Isfahan after feeding all the cultivated land as it passed by. The farmers were able to grow 3 times a year production from their land. They used pigeons droppings and any other fertilization to grow anything that they could. Therefore, we could really see the most beautiful watermelon, the crunchiest cucumbers, the heartiest wheat, the short grain rice, and the sweetest melons and grapes. Winter was the best season in the region. Mountain and the valley covered. Very interesting thing was that the wolves were singing their songs during the night, and it kind of was very, very scary. My students really enjoyed learning at the school, and meanwhile that they were really helping their families to grow things in the field. Many of them also wished to go to the higher education to the village of Pir Bakran. We also provided a night school for the adults so they could learn the basic reading and writing. Unfortunately, at that time the illiteracy was over 77% in Iran. 6 months after my completion of my service, I went to USA for higher education, but never forgot Juchi and my students. I received several letters from the village before my departure, but I could not really continue my connection any furthermore. After 38 years in the United States, I traveled to Iran, to the city of Isfahan, and enjoyed few days of vacationing and seeing the old town again with my wife. I wanted to visit Juchi again, and a dear friend of mine agreed to drive me there. The roads were all asphalted now, very smooth and very beautiful. The Safi mountain was very familiar. After 1 hour we arrived in Pir Bakran. Now this little village was a big city, and there was a lot of traffic, a lot of cars moving back and forth. We zigzagged through this little village of Pava, but unfortunately we did not see the fort any longer. The field seemed to be very empty. I didn't see any farmers anymore. We drove through the village of Juchi, and it was extremely interesting to see that they built a new mosque, but they did not finish it all the way. The school still was there, but all the middle windows were taken out and was covered with the clay. The school was dedicated to the girls' education, which half of the day they were training as theology, and then the rest as regular education. A gentleman who was working in front of his house invited us for a cup of tea. As soon as I introduced myself, he was very delighted to hear the story that after 38 years I came to visit the village. And I was very excited, and at the same time there was a motorcycle driver. He was passing by, but as a curiosity he stopped, and I was introduced to him, and with some tears in his eyes he welcomed me to the village, and he says, "I'm so delighted, Mr. Director, to see you after so many years. I was one of your students." He also explained to me that majority of the residents they were gone, and some of their children they moved to the city, and there were very little farmers left in that village. I was very sad to see the village, the most beautiful village that I've ever seen, being so ruined, but I also was very happy to see my last students remained in that village, and I was able to meet him after so many years.
دلم میخواد به اصفهان برگردم، بازم به اون نصف جهان برگردم، برم اونجا بشینم در کنار زاینده رو، بخونم از ته دل ترانه و شعر و ترانه و شعر و سرود. خودم اینجا، دلم اونجا، همه راز و نیازم اونجاست. ای خدا عشق منو، یار منو، نازم اونجاست. چه کنم با کی بگم عقده دل را، پیش کی خواهم، دردمو با چه زبون به این و اون پاری کنم، دردمو با چه زبون به این و اون پاری کنم. دلم میخواد به اصفهان برگردم، بازم به اون نصف جهان برگردم.